Hi everyone, and welcome back to National League Lowdown with me, Dan. As you can see, I'm joined by Mark tonight. How are you, mate?
Aloha, everybody. Yep, it's very cold, very wet out there, wherever you are in the part of the world. Hope it's a little bit drier, but yep, we'll warm you up tonight with our special guest.
Yeah, and as you can see, we've got a special guest tonight. We're joined by Dorking Wanderers striker Alfie Rutherford. How are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Glad to have me on.
Yeah, pleasure to have you with us, mate. Obviously, I know you've kind of seen bits of the show and that, so obviously we talk a lot about National League, but we know we'd want to cover a bit more National League North, National League South as well, because very exciting leagues, which we'll get onto later on. So yeah, so it's good to have you with us, and we can cover a bit of a base there as well, with Mark being a Macclesfield fan as well in National League North, so cover that as well. So yeah, but obviously we'll get started. We wanted to cover just your career, mate. So obviously there's a real story there. You were at Portsmouth as a youth academy product. You were let go due to a heart problem. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was correct. So originally before Portsmouth, I started at Moneyfields, which is like a local club down near me. Started there until I was about 8 years old. Signed for Portsmouth when obviously I was about 8 years old. Then played for Portsmouth until I was 16, but funnily enough, I was actually a centre back until I was 16. I played centre back from when I was 8 until I was 16. Went to go sign scholarship forms at that time, and then I come across the woman who actually does my echo scans at Southampton Hospital while I was doing my medical for the scholarship, and obviously flagged up then, which I always put down that I had this condition anyway. Sort of got flagged up when I was 16, and then got called in by the club and told that I wouldn't be able to sign scholarship forms. And at the time, they told me that I wouldn't be able to play football because of this condition. So I sort of had to work my own way around it to find out what I could and couldn't do. So it took me about 5 months to finally get through to an FA doctor, just to have a meeting with, to find out that it's actually not up to the club to find out who can play. It's totally my decision. It's just the club that basically run the risk due to like insurances and stuff like that. So I totally understand it now as to why they did it. But yeah, and then from there, from Portsmouth, I went back to Moneyfields where my dad was manager. Played there for a year. Funnily enough, couldn't play my first game of the season because I was only 15 years old. So yeah, it was 15 until I was in Portsmouth. Because I was 15 years old, so I couldn't actually play. I had to have permission from my school, which was crazy. Signed for a year there, done really well. Then went to Bognor, where I spent a year there. Went to Havant, which I signed there for I was there 4 years, maybe 4 years. Signed for Dorking, and now this is my 6th year at Dorking.
Yeah, I mean that's an incredible story, mate. Honestly, and like I said, when I was reading it, it really like spoke to me because, like I said, that must have been a lot for you to process at the time. You know, as a youngster, you just want to play football, don't you? And then to get hit with that kind of news, that must have really hit you for six, did it?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, obviously, I was always chasing that dream, like every other kid, just wanting to play football. But yeah, obviously, when I got told the news, I was obviously massively upset. But I've always been quite positive in the way that I'm thinking, and just think there's no point dwelling about it. These things happen. It's just another step in the right direction, I suppose. So yeah, obviously, it was tough to take at the time, obviously being 16. But in a different way, I'll probably look at it as me being in the mindset that I am, and that it was a good thing that happened. Obviously, like I said, I was a centre back until I was sort of 15 at Portsmouth, and then started playing up front. Funnily enough, for my dad at Moneyfields, and then I've sort of gone on from there. And I mean, looking at it now, I'd much rather be a striker than a centre back. That is for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you get to do all the good bits, don't you? You get to score all the goals. That's always good.
You take all the glory. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Definitely, mate. Like I say, so when I was reading this, and I know Mark's got a couple of questions for you around this, but was there anything that you had to do differently when you got diagnosed? So, like, obviously you were aware that you had this heart issue and things. So, like, did you have to slow things down? Make differences in your daily life to process that?
Not really. Where I always went to the hospital and had my yearly checkups, I always said to them that I play sport, and they're okay with it. There's certain things that they don't like you doing, such as like lifting big heavy weights above your head because it puts strain on the heart. So I never really did that anyway. But I mean, so with this condition, you can either be symptomatic or asymptomatic. If I was symptomatic, I probably wouldn't be playing football because I would have all the feelings that come with this. Being asymptomatic, I was obviously really lucky so that I never felt anything. And if I'm honest, all the time I've been playing football, touch wood, I've never had any sort of feeling in my chest. And if I'm honest, I don't really think about the condition until I get a letter through from Southampton saying you've got to come see us again. So I suppose that is a good thing.
Yeah, that's really good news, mate. Mark, I know you had a couple of questions around this, mate. Fire away.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to sort of elaborate on what Dan's just asked, but in a different way, because I too have a heart condition. I've got an enlarged heart, which doesn't pump out as much blood as what it should be doing. So it's permanently stuck with heart failure. Now we see doctors, we've seen doctors, but to put a little bit of a twist on what Dan was saying, what did you do personally? What did you think? Did you think, right, hang on, I am going to do this? I know I made some changes off my own back, but did you sit down after listening to the doctors and think, well, maybe if I do what they haven't mentioned? And did it make a difference if it did come to that?
I mean, if they would have told me to stop playing football or something like that, I probably would have disregarded the information, if I'm honest. I have said in like previous stuff that I would much rather play football and enjoy my life and potentially shorten my career in that sense to enjoy life. I wouldn't want to do anything differently to what I do already. So I sort of hope that answers your question. I was a bit unsure on what you was meaning by it, but
yeah, I mean,
I would never change anything to what I've done, or
yeah.
I would never. I mean, I would obviously take information like them saying you're lifting heavy weights above your head, but if they would have given me the decision, basically saying you're running the risk of playing football, I would still play football.
Yeah, that sort of thing. I mean, a lot of it was dietary. The doctors were really sort of saying, well, if you eating cheese and everything like that, it's just to get everything. And then we found out that my heart was damaged in some surgery and became bigger. So, and it still struggles. And I suffered heart failure at work, which was not the place, because when I came to, I was slumped over a bag of compost. It wasn't very dignified at all. But when you look, I mean, they've had Graham Souness, who's had to have the heart bypass operation, Christian Eriksen, Fabrice Muamba. But did you ever see, or have you seen recently, when I think it was Sam Allardyce, they put on a heart rate machine and putting through how his heart was in the middle of a game. They put him out on a game. Did you watch that documentary?
No, I haven't. I haven't actually seen that.
Yeah, check it out, because it's very eye-opening. It was very eye-opening for Sam Allardyce as well. Well, not as eye-opening as it was for the England job and everything like that. But when you see players like Christian Eriksen being able to sustain a career, albeit he's got a defibrillator in his chest now, a pacemaker, defibrillator, yeah.
Same thing.
Potato. But yeah, does that give you, the hope that you can have a prolonged career despite what's there? How long really do you think you can go on for?
So I'm sort of glad you had that, because you answered that, because I'm going to sort of talk you through as to. So most people's careers sort of end when they want them to. My career, in a way, has a lifespan. So with the condition that I've got, which is aortic stenosis, so with the aortic valve, the way it pumps out blood, so it sort of looks like a Mercedes sign. So if you think of like a Mercedes sign, and the way that the ventricles sort of open up, they flap open. So that's called like tricuspid, obviously, because of the three sort of ventricles. Mine was bicuspid, so it only had two. So because it used to work extra hard, one used to get really lazy and weak, so it never used to let it open properly. So that's why I had to have the operation. But with that now, with the valve that I've got in, so basically I've had the aortic valve taken out because that's the one that was failing. I've had the pulmonary valve put where the aortic valve is, and then I've had a synthetic valve, what they've made in the pulmonary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah, wow.
absolutely. Yeah.
So with that pulmonary valve that they put in synthetically, that usually has a lifespan of about 15 to 20 years. So I had the operation done when I was 25. So if it lasts 15 years and I'm 40 and I'm still playing, I'll still be amazed then. So that's what I went for. I sort of wanted to wait until I was 25, but I sort of had to have the operation because of my ACL as well. They wouldn't operate on my ACL without having my heart done. So it sort of fell at a good time as well. But yeah, I suppose mine does have a lifespan. I will never have to have a pacemaker. Touch wood, obviously, if nothing happens. So yeah, I'm just living with basically my own valve put in a different area and then a synthetic valve that they made.
Yeah, I mean that's really good that you mentioned that, Alfie. Actually, because I had a question myself about your recovery. So I seen you had your open heart surgery, but it was also at the same time as your ACL and things. So how did your recovery look like for that? Like how long did that take? Was that tough on you? Because I'd imagine that involved a lot of rest and sitting around, and I'd imagine you're obviously as a footballer you're a very active guy, so that must have been quite tough, was it?
So that was sort of, well, it was the worst year of my life. I'll say that. It was, so I snapped my ACL, found out that I'd done it, and then I went to have a meeting about having my ACL done at the Spire in Havant near me. And basically they said they will not operate on my ACL until I have my heart done, because where I'm sort of close to the limit, they don't want to operate on me and something fail in the heart because of the operation, because of the heart, it could fail in the private hospital and they don't have the medical care that could potentially save my life if something did happen. So yeah, I had to have my ACL done, which I had done. No, I had my heart done in November. So basically, they saw through your sternum. So I was basically taped up from my chest for like a month, and then I had to sort of be careful for the next 2 months because I could knock my sternum out of place, which could cause serious damage. And then 3 months down the line, when that was completely healed, I had my ACL done. So I spent 3 months in bed, basically with my heart, and then went straight in and had my ACL done, and then spent probably another 2 months moping around on crutches. And then, yeah, so altogether, probably 5-6 months virtually sat in my own bed, driving myself insane. So it was tough. But yeah, I've always found ways to get over stuff. It's not really, I would never get into like the negative mindset or something like that where I would let things like that bother me. I would always try and look for the positives in the situation. So obviously you had that time frame of the heart being done, everything. Once that gets done, it's one more operation. That's out the way. And then, yeah, you obviously, when you start seeing improvements with the knee, and then obviously you just keep building yourself up like that. But it was a long it felt like a really long year. But to be fair, from an ACL, usually it's like 9 to 12 months until you start doing stuff. So after my ACL surgery, I was actually back playing my first game after, I think it was like 8 months and 20 days. So I was quite quick, but probably didn't help myself coming back so quick. But I suppose being out for that long and with all the injuries I had, I just wanted to get back as quick as possible.
Yeah, you just want to get back to normality after a bit of, that happening. And it sounds like you've got a really positive mindset, which I absolutely love, mate. For those who are watching, I have a podcast that I do called Be the Best Version of Yourself, and it talks a lot about positive mindset and finding individual positives in negative situations and trying to navigate your brain around difficult things. So in my case, I have epilepsy. I lost my mum last year, so trying to work around things like that. So it's really interesting you mentioned that, because I think in a world of negativity, sometimes you can just find one positive and focus on that positive. That's really strong. So that's really impressive, Alfie. So massive well done to you for that, mate. Mark, have you got any other questions?
Well, I know how he is, how you are, Alfie, when it comes to an operation. I've got 2 hernias in my stomach as well. One is on top of the other, and one is actually stuck in a very uncompromising position. But again, I'm waiting on the anaesthetist to see whether my heart can actually handle anything like that. They're up. They've got some veiled optimism, but I've had to have a few more tests and things like that, and then they'll give it the okay. They've said no reason why not, but as you rightly pointed out, they will not put themselves in jeopardy just in case as well, because everybody knows the risks. There'll be papers to sign, everything like that, but they don't want to jeopardize themselves, and they don't want to compromise people like you and I either. So it's just amazing from what you're actually saying with what you've had to go through. A lot of it has resonated, and what I would what would you with people, if they think they've got something with the heart and they like to be sporty. I mean, I'm 49 now, I'm fat as a cow, but you know but what would you say to those who might have that problem but really want to do basically what you're doing? What message would you give to them?
I think it's a hard one, because if you're like me, obviously I've always been in love with the sport. So if you love it that much, you'll do it. Do you know what I mean? And obviously I know that doesn't sound great, because obviously you have this condition, but always if you're in love with something that much, then you'll always find a way to do it, I suppose. But obviously, if you are going to do it, then make sure you know all the precautions of what can happen. Go speak to your doctor, find out what potentially feelings you could get with stuff. But yeah, I mean, I've always been the get up and go kind of guy, so that would be my mindset, and something I would always say to people is, if you love something that much, then just do it.
Yeah, I love that,
it
mate.
can be.
I thought you were going to go, Mark.
No. It can be done. It is my long and short answer on it. So, but yeah, I mean, that's encouraging. I mean, if anybody wants to take this podcast after we put it out to their doctors, I mean, some of the stuff that I'm actually going to take this podcast for when I go and see, eventually see the heart doctor myself and say, right, listen to this, and that'll be 25 quid. Thank you.
There you go, Alfie. You should be charging for this, mate. You're going to be getting took to hospitals, and Mark's going to be showing you to doctors and giving advice and stuff. But anyways, that's pretty much, for the serious side of things. We want to talk a bit about the football side of things now. Obviously, that's why you're here mainly. So, Dorking this season, decent start, good start for you. Seeing you've got 6 goals in all competitions so far. I think I worked that out right. Is that right?
I think it may be 7 now.
7. Oh, 7. I apologise.
I might be doing what strikers do and add a few on, but
well, that's your job. You've got to claim them. You've got to claim them, mate. But yeah, so decent start. how do you think it's going so far? Anything you can improve on? Like, what's your expectations for the season?
Yeah, it's been an up and down start, I would say. Not the start we'd want. We've had a few injuries and stuff, which obviously it always is like that at the start of the season. And obviously the first sort of 5-6 games of the season, everyone thinks they're going to win the league. Everyone is all guns blazing. So yeah, how do you sort of weather that storm? Obviously we've got through to the FA Cup now, the last qualifying round. We got all the shots, so that'd be a massive thing for the club. Obviously Mark talks massively about getting into the first round. I've never actually played in the first round, so it'd be quite a big thing for me as well. But yeah, other than that, the league position, I think once you get past sort of December time, that's where you really start to see teams shifting. As long as you can sort of stay, what I've always found, if you can sort of stay in the pack, then you're always in the position to go and stick a good run together. And you always want that run to come after Christmas. There's no point peaking too early in the season. If you have that run after Christmas, teams start to fear you. But yeah, it's been okay. It's obviously been okay for me as well. Scoring a few goals and stuff. I probably should have a lot more. But that's just the nature of the beast at this time of the season.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I say, I've obviously been like looking at the games you've had this season so far, and I was just wanting to talk. Obviously, you mentioned your manager Mark White and the popularity of the club around the documentary, bunch of amateurs and everything like that. So I've been watching some of the clips of that as well recently. I just wanted to ask you a bit about obviously the documentary, the popularity that's come along with that. Is that something that's exciting to be a part of?
Yeah, I mean, I've started in it since Bunch of Amateurs started, and just to see the growth of it, and obviously where I've been in it from the start, and we obviously had that promotion winning season. Obviously the playoff game, I scored the winner. It was quite a big thing. People, it's quite crazy because sometimes I've been in London. I live in Portsmouth, and like sometimes I go to London, and sometimes people genuinely stop you and say, are you on that Bunch of Amateurs program? And it's quite a surreal moment, but yeah, Rich at Bunch of Amateurs, the one who runs it, he does such a good job of it. And every year it just gets better and better. And for some reason, all the funny stuff seems to happen at Dorking. All of the clips and stuff, it just all seems to be things at Dorking. But no, it's such a good thing. And I mean, Rich is good with us. Obviously, some people, when they come in, they're afraid of having cameras around because of what they say and stuff like that. But Rich is so good with all of that. He would always ask for permission. If there's like an interview, he always asks us how we feel about it. And if there's something he's not sure about posting, he'll always ask. But yeah, just to see the growth of it is such a good thing. And Rich does such a good job with it.
Yeah, like you say, it's the power of social media and everything. You know, these clips get clipped up. Like one of the ones I seen on TikTok the other day, which was one of my favourites, was the Hartlepool away game. And the guy behind Mark White shouting at him, calling him all kinds, and then he gives him a bit back, and then he's reporting him to the fourth official. He's like, "Hey, hey," and I was like, "Come on!" And then he tries to shake his hand at the end, like Mark's just having absolute.
I think like that's what people love about it is you see a different side to it. What happens and what you see in the changing room is genuinely what happens in most changing rooms. It is like that people probably think, oh, they go in the changing room, they get shouted at and stuff like that, but it's not all like that. And I know Mark is probably sometimes a little bit outspoken, but good for it. Yeah, you get to see this thing, like the interactions with fans, and obviously people make up negative comments about it all the time, but I think predominantly people love it. And it's good to see that side of football come out because people get stuck to watching Premier League games and people in interviews and managers, and it's almost like they're scripted. So it is good to see that side of it, I think, from a fan's point of view anyway.
100%, mate. I love it because nowadays you get all these players that are like media trained, and you could probably go to pretty much every individual Premier League player and they'll give you the same answer for the same question. And it's like, I'd rather see that raw nature. If there's a few swear words in there, if there's a few bits and bobs in there, it's like, that's life, you know, that's general life. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what I loved about it, anyways. And I know obviously you had a bit of an entertaining season last season. I know Mark had a question about this as well. So Mark.
Mhm. Well, I'm going to cast your mind back, Alfie, to the very last day of the season, where anyone from six, including yourselves, could have gone and won that championship. What on earth was going in your mind? Because you're going to hear different people going, "Oh, such and such is 2-0 up. Oh no, they're 3-0 down." What was going on in the Dorking dressing room there? Was it just blank it out and just do what you've got to do, or hang on, there's a chance we could win this? What was it like? It's an extraordinary situation.
Yeah, who did we play? I think we were playing Chesham. I think it was Chesham. And obviously before the game, we just need to take care of our own business and let other things happen elsewhere. I think the situation we was in, I think we was about fifth, and we would have needed a near-on miracle for it to happen. Yeah, so for us, I would say it was probably a little bit different. Obviously, Truro only had to win the league, and yeah, I think I remember us winning at half time. And as much as you say, take care of your own business, you obviously want to know what the scores are elsewhere. And I think Truro were like 3-0 up. So you sort of know that dream's over. And then the next step for us was, can we get a home playoff game? Obviously, it didn't come to that. So, yeah, it is what it is. Like in that situation, you need a miracle. But like Mark said, in that situation, was there things that cost us 2 points over the season? Because normally that's what cost us from winning the league. Was there situations that happened that we done, or was there injuries that cost us 2 points to win the league? So we just had to switch our minds into the playoffs, really, that game. So
yeah. This year as well, they're saying that the National League South is very competitive. You've still got yourselves, you've got Torquay, Dagenham and Redbridge, Andy Carroll and all. And you've got tomorrow's opponents, Chelmsford City. I know Chelmsford quite well, and they've got some pretty good big backing there as well. But how do you look at these teams like your Dagenhams and your Torquays and think we've got nothing to worry about with these guys?
I feel like everyone's got to play everyone, right? So it is that mindset of everyone's got to beat everyone. And I think you've seen this year, the National South is so dramatic. Anyone can actually beat anyone on their day. So you've got to be at 110% every game. It's very different to a National League South that I've been in before, I would say, because you've got more full-time teams than ever. And if I'm honest, when you look, you don't know. Usually, you would say they might get relegated, but there's not one team this year where you go, they're going to get relegated, because everyone looks so strong. Oh, the lights just turned off. Sorry.
I thought the Undertaker was coming out then.
So there's no one really this year that you look at and you think, well, that's a certain win. Do you know what I mean? So it's a very different National League South to what I've played in before. I'd say it's very competitive this year, and you just don't know what's going to turn up on the day.
Yeah, I mean,
certainly Dagenham and Redbridge are. They were everybody's favourites, like with Ashley Hemmings going there. Obviously, Andy Carroll, Donovan Wilson, for all you Sutton fans out there. But they've sort of hit the wrong part of the league but anybody can be anybody's favourites, because I've seen it all on Twitter as well, that they've said that National League South, and I'm going to quote somebody here, is the tastiest league in non-league football. What say you, Alfie?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think when you look across the leagues, you always have picked winners in league. So obviously, like my dad manages Chichester in the Isthmian, and like you look in that league, and you probably look at the 3 teams that are going to get promoted, and you go, yeah, you'd say one of them 3, and them 3 have all started really well. But yeah, like I say, it's so different in the National League South. It's just you don't know what's going to happen. And like last year, for instance, it goes to the last day of the season, and I think last year Truro were one of the favourites to get relegated. So I think it just goes to show that it really doesn't matter. You've just got to be your best every weekend. But like with the Dagenham situation, they wouldn't have wanted this start. But who's to say if they go and win 8 games in a row, they'll be top of the league. So it is that dramatic in that league. You've only got to win. Go on a 5-game winning streak, and you genuinely could be top of the league. You'll be in the top in the you'll be in the playoffs anyway, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about this on our previous podcast, Alfie, because in our league, we've got Halifax, and they had a really bad start, shaky start, and then they've just won 5 on the spin, and they're in the playoffs now. And it's like, you just put that run together. And I know you mentioned earlier, I always call it the nitty gritty, which is November, December, January time, when there's sometimes like 3 games a week at some points. And it's like, if you can stay injury free and get on a good run of results, that's where your season will be made or broken, won't it?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the same in every league, really.
Yeah.
If you can stick that run together just after Christmas, because obviously you don't really get many Tuesday games. You obviously get the bank holiday games, but you go Saturday to Saturday, and if you just keep ticking off them weekends, it goes very quick after Christmas. That's the one thing I would say. The season after Christmas, that period just flies by, and then it's done. So yeah, it is ultimately how you can stick your run together at certain points of the season, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, just before we finish up and everything, my last question for you is obviously you mentioned about your dad being a manager and things like that. Have you got any plans for the future after football of coaching potentially or anything like that? Have you not thought that far ahead?
So I actually, so I turned professional in golf last year. So I'm actually doing my PGA training to coach golf, which might surprise you a little bit. I have thought about coaching football, and if I'm honest, I love golf as well. And I work with my uncle as well at a golf club, private golf club that we work at, and yeah, so I'm doing that. So
I
football
love
coaching
that.
might not be for me, but you know, a lot of footballers are getting into golf now, so it looks like the right thing to do. But no, I've always loved it, so that is my plan for when I finish.
Yeah, that's good though. Coaching's obviously in the blood, isn't it? Coaching, yeah, coaching's in the blood.
Yeah, not
And
many people see that answer coming, but
yeah, I always say as well, I love golf. Golf just doesn't love me. Like, I'm rubbish. I'm absolutely rubbish. Like, I love playing, but I can't play for it. The love of anything, honestly, it's absolutely rubbish. But
yeah,
no,
it is.
I love that, mate. I love that,
Yeah,
mate.
it's the best but worst sport ever.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. So
No, it's the
frustrating.
most frustrating sport in the world. And the difference is with football you can blame it on someone else. In golf, you can't. It's you on your own. So
Yeah, I always say that about
Unless you're American.
individual sports, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
that's why I always say, like, when you watch tennis and golf, obviously is individual sports where you have to just take that on. If it's not your day, it's not your day, and you just have to be okay with it because you can't have a meltdown on TV in front of everybody.
yeah, that's it exactly.
But yeah,
Unless you're
but
American.
let's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's more the golf American golf fans, isn't it? That they were a bit bitter at the Ryder Cup.
Well, same thing.
But yeah, but thanks Alfie for joining us. It's been absolute cracking chat. These 35 minutes absolutely flew over. But before we finish, thanks everyone who's watched our recent episodes. Don't forget to like and subscribe so we can get some more exciting guests on, like Alfie, like we've had Jazz Singh, we've had Max Kretschmar, Casey Petit, Robbie Savage. You know, we've had a lot of exciting guests. Keep liking and subscribing, and we can keep getting exciting guests and having exciting chats. But thanks to Alfie again for joining us, and thanks to Mark as always for joining us as well. And we'll see you all again soon. Take care.
Thank you.